Okay, so I'm going to do some upgrades to my Homelab, and I thought it might be cool to experiment with a exploratory type of video where I just film myself doing it, and if we encounter problems, we fix them in the moment, and it should still be pretty informative, but hopefully it's a little bit entertaining too. So what I'm after is I'm going to add a new node to my Proxmox cluster. I'm kind of wanting to expand my overall amount of compute. So I've got one machine and it's doing pretty good. It's these old Dell pre-builts that I'll show you here in a second that have like 8700Ks in them, and one of them has 64 gigs of RAM, and one of them's got 48 because of Dell OEM pre-built weirdness. They will have 10 gig cards in them until X520s. So I'm kind of tapped out on one, and I've got the other one laying around. So I wanted to hook them both up. What that'll give me in the end is 12 cores and 24 threads across both nodes, 10 gig networking, and 112 gigs of RAM. So a lot more headroom for fun stuff and activities. Okay, so here's the Homelab as she sits. I know it's not the most impressive looking thing, but maybe it'll go to show that you don't need a ton of compute to do really cool things in your Homelab. It's definitely not a looker, but it's definitely a singer. So down here is my original Dell pre-built machine that's acting as a server now. I got it for free from work. I got this other machine on top that I've got cracked open in this goofy RAM config. Let's see if I can get this focused there, just because as soon as I plug in this X520, it makes one of the RAM slots drop out, which is hilarious and exactly on par for Dell pre-builts. This is my OpenSense firewall. It's actually just the first machine that I ever built, and it's now existing as a firewall. It's got 10 gig. So the main game plan is going to be wiring this guy up to this node. I want to do that on 10 gig so that I can transfer VMs back and forth between different the machines in an HA or just a live migration with 10 gig. So I went ahead and I ordered this 10 gig MikroTek switch. I think is how you define that. So now I can have a 10 gig backplane and it not be kind of jank. So game plan is OpenSense will come in, go into the switch. Both the Proxmox nodes will go into the switch. And I'll do a trunk between my Cisco 1 gig switch and that MikroTek switch. And then I'll be 10 gig and have a lot of compute. So yeah. Alright, I've got the switch plugged in. I really like that it has the single Ethernet port on it, so you can avoid using that big doohickey from the Mesozoic period. It's 5-volt power in the back. It's got PoE power in the front. That's probably how I'm going to power it eventually, because the switch is PoE. But for now, it's just powered straight, and I'm using this gargantuan cable for just about no reason. This is the only thing I have laying around. So this thing has a default IP of 192.168.88.1. So I'll just configure the MAC with a static IP in that range, and we should be able to connect to it and get it configured. Alright, so we're in macOS now. So I've got this framework Ethernet card plugged in here. So we need to give it an IP address in the same range. So that's going to be manually, and we'll set that to 192.168.88.2. Since the switch was in 88.1, the subnet mask, and that's really all we should have to do. So we just go OK. Now it's got the IP address, so we should be able to, let's get a new window going open here. Should be able to go to 192.168.88.1 and hit the web UI. Go ahead and allow. Oh, no dice at that IP address. Okay, well, let's take a look at what that might be then. Okay, so after doing a bit of digging, I guess maybe the web UI isn't exposed by default. I don't know, that's weird. I thought it would be in a consumer switch like this, but alas. So actually, SSHing to it seems to work, at least so far. I actually haven't tried all the way through it yet, but I've got the password here. Let's paste that right in there. And there she is. MikroTek, how cool is that? So I guess we'll see the software license, but kind of regret this now. Let's see if I can Control C out of that. Nope. Here, what can I quit? Okay. Look at this. Alright, so default configuration has been installed on your router. Welcome to RouterOS. Set a strong password user menu. This all kind of seems like web UI stuff. Is it gonna be there? Let's see here. 192.168.88.1. It is there. Okay. Well, isn't that weird? See my Claude window on the right, trying to figure out how to access this thing. But there it is. Okay, MikroTek. So I guess you just have to kind of jostle it a little bit to get it to open. That is good to know. Drop the password in there, and boom. Okay. Sweet. Well, I'm going to set a password really quick, and I will be right back with you guys. Okay, so password is set. This is my first time in one of these switches, which is probably very apparently obvious. But it dumped me into this quick set Ethernet thing here, which looks pretty nice. It can be router or bridge mode. It's not going to be a router for me because I'm going to use OpenSense for that. I can set my IP address, which I guess I can go ahead and do. In my network, that's 192.168. Actually, it's going to be 1.10. That's the right subnet mask. Gateway is going to be the same thing, 192.168.1.10 or 1.1, and DNS servers will be the same as the root. This is really not all that important unless you want your switch to have network access, which I'm assuming that maybe it'll download firmware over the wire. I'm not super sure yet with this thing, but pretty excited to find out. VPN access is kind of neat. Router identity, honestly, MikroTek 10 gig might be kind of cool. Sure, let's check for updates. Why don't we do that? Go ahead and apply. So what's interesting is if it's going to continue to work or not. If I do a duplicate tab, because I might have just lost it because the IP changed. So yes, it did. So maybe I should have done that one after the other, but you know, that's why we do it. So all we have to do to remedy that problem is come back to network and just update the address on this side to 10 or 1, and this can be 1.20. Okay, that looks good. So now we try to hit it at its new IP address of 192.168.1.10. And there it is, we're back. Great. I do have a new password, which I will enter in bam. Okay, we're back where we left off. Sweet. IP address saved. No, I don't need to save that, thanks. So I can kill that. Let's go ahead and do another check for updates. Stable channel, yes, please. Cannot resolve. DNS name. Yeah, the switch is not on the network. I don't know why I thought that would work already. That's going to have to come later. Can we just back it up? What does that do? Nothing? Okay. Well, cool. How does one... Okay, here we go. I don't know why my IP address is set like that. We can just refresh. Try this again, I guess. Alright. It's spinning for a while. Do a duplicate tab. Can I get to it again? Okay, looks like I've lost it. Did it roll all my changes back to factory? Man, having a hard time with this web UI so far. Feeling like a little nugget. So I guess we'll grab the default admin password if it rolled everything back, and we'll change our IP address again to 88.2. Okay, so 192.168.88.1. It did do exactly that. Default password did not work, so it kept the password, but it lost our IP address. Very interesting. Okay, let's change that back. 1.10. That looks good. We'll apply the config. It saved it. I feel like it said that to us last time, but it lied. But alas. So now let's get something in 1.20. Doing okay. That looks good. New tab. 168.1.10. There's our switch again. Sweet. Great. That all looks phenomenal. Try that again. That's saved. I guess that's it on quick set. So do I slide over here to advanced now? Okay. Wow, this is not a bad looking little dashboard actually. Like we got what, baked in config, Wi-Fi? It doesn't have Wi-Fi in it. I guess if you have more MikroTek stuff, this is where it would all populate. That's kind of super nice. I like that a ton. Okay. Well, my, I guess I'm gonna go here to terminal. It'll just dump me into a web. Oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. Well, all I want to do first is just set up all my ports with my VLANs. So I think I'm just going to do that in the CLI instead of messing around here. But this looks pretty sweet, though. This is a nice looking little simple web UI. I don't hate it. So I'm going to quickly figure out the commands. I don't know the CLI. Just off camera, so I don't bumble around too much to just set it up. The game plan is I just want to get all the ports trunking, all my VLANs. This is going to be the core switch that everything plugs into. So yeah, I will be right back when I've got those figured out. Okay, so I've done a little bit of research and I'm back in the CLI. I'm coming from like Cisco and Dell Enterprise switches, so this feels a little bit different for me, but I've got some commands. I guess there's a bridge that has to be, and all the ports belong in that bridge, and you do management really on the bridge side. So like that. So there's a default bridge, and that's where we configured the management IP earlier. So I've just got a couple of commands here to run in the CLI. This should add all of the VLANs that I want to use to that bridge and set it up for trunking. I just double checked that is correct. So let's run this command. You don't actually do switch port mode trunk or anything like that on the switch. You just add all the VLANs to the bridge like that, and then add all the VLANs to the bridge, and then you just do this bridge set VLAN filtering. Set that to true or yes, and we'll see how she goes. Okay, it took it, and there's no save command. It just saves. So that's the switch configured for now. At least I think so. Simple config. All the ports are trunks. I just kind of want to start testing it. So let's go back out now and let's plug OpenSense into this and actually wire it into the network and see what happens. So exciting stuff. All right, so it's testing time. The game plan is this is my current uplink to my Cisco switch that's trunking all from my OpenSense box. So I've got my Mac here. It's back on the main Wi-Fi and everything like that, not just directly connected. So you can, this will fail, right? It's just failing. So theoretically, the game plan is to take this, put it there, and then to trunk this back into this switch, and everything should just come back like it was. So I'm gonna plug all that in and let's see what happens. Okay, I think it works. OpenSense came in here and it's lighting up this 10 gig light, and then I plugged this guy right back into here, so they're connected to each other now. And it took like a long minute, the longest few seconds of my life, and I did not think it was gonna come up, but the Mac wasn't working before, and it's plugged in, and test works on Google, and OpenSense is directly, so yeah, Switch is wired. I call that a raging success. So, that being the case, I'm gonna wire the rest of this up now. So this guy, this side is that bottom Proxmox node. So I'm gonna wire him in. Then I might do some speed testing and just make sure I actually get a gig. Probably show some of that on camera. And then I think it's just on to actually hooking this guy up, configuring it, and clustering it. So, yeah, good stuff. So on second thought, I'd probably wait to speed test anything until these two guys are wired together. So the plan is to go ahead and just uplink both of those guys into here. Now they're both gonna have 1 gigabit just standard management interfaces. You can see that little red guy running there. Proxmox recommends it that way. I believe I like doing that so that I've got a dedicated management access port to use, so that it's not a part of the 10 gig, not a part of the trunks, so that can stay in here, so that won't really change at all. But it allows me to have a bit more freedom with just operating them. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and button this guy up and get Proxmox on them and start getting it wired and get those clustered and start partying.